Presentation of Mr. Harris Rosen's father's genuine collection of his characters that he did throughout his life, predominantly between 1930 and 1962 when he was employed at the Waldorf Astoria. You're going to find a lot of astronauts, you're going to find sports figures, presidential candidates and presidents, popes and the likes. Just a very, very interesting collection of characters that we do have presented here on the walls of Jack's place. So it always pays to grab a glass of wine and take a walk around and look at the different characters and have discussions and thoughts about how they affected our lives and changed the world in their own ways throughout the course of history here. So Mr. Rosen is really proud of this restaurant. He did guide it after a restaurant in New York, Sardi's, and he wanted to do this in honor of his father and all the charitable work that he has done, which he's more noted for that. The charitable work that he did in the 70s and late 60s for all the wounded veterans and all the armed forces personnel that were wounded, hurt, and that's where he gained most of his fame from. And that's what we have here is more of that collection of his notable characters. Houdini room, because we do have the Houdini caricature. But we'll also have Margaret Thatcher, Queen Elizabeth, and Winston Churchill, so we might have to rename it the UK room because it's our little section of private dining room. But you have more notable figures such as a Picasso, Leo Tolstoy, so some great influential people here in the world. And if you ever say you've dined with the Pope, well, we have the Pope right here for you. So, followed by Elizabeth Hepburn and Jacques Cousteau. Yeah, not many people have a Picasso out there, and we have two of them, so that's kind of interesting. So.
Yeah, very nice. Which
yeah. Oh,
which
Picasso? Yep. And we also have a Salvador Dali too, which is very interesting. You know, so you have some great artists. So, yep. Some great composers and book writers, Sean O'Casey, Leo Tolstoy. And if you notice the date on the paper is 1944. Is where the paper's dated when so that makes it even more interesting, right after the World War II. So. That is the astronaut, and that's who John Milton Parkway is named after.
Yeah.
But we start the presidential wall here. We start out with Jimmy Carter. We have Eisenhower. We have Kennedy. Followed by Ronald Reagan and George Bush and Richard Nixon, all located on one wall. For some reason they put Gerald Ford on the other wall, and I can't quite figure out why. And there's another well-known person in Florida, Salvador Dali, straight up top. And of course you have an Einstein, right to your right of that. You would not even recognize that as being Einstein, Albert Einstein. And then another big figure here in Florida is also going to be this one. Fidel Castro evokes the most emotion out of anybody in the room here. A lot of our friends from South Florida, they see him once they first enter the room and they would go, uh-oh, what's Fidel doing on the wall? But this is from 1959, signed and dated 1959 by Fidel Castro. You have Lyndon B. Johnson. This is also Lyndon B. Johnson is the gentleman who did bring Jack to the White House to give him a Medal of Accommodation for all the work that he did for the GIs and everyone. And I do have a picture of that over here, signed by Lyndon B. Johnson himself. This is Jack Rosen here on the far right. Of course, Lyndon B. Johnson, and then the rest of the members of the cabinet when he received his Medal of Accommodation. Taylor there, she's always a popular one. Elizabeth Taylor.
Yeah.
He wrote Elizabeth, the most beautiful girl in the world. Thank you, best always, Elizabeth Taylor. So they had a little correspondence back and forth for each other. Even Marlon Brando's over here. You always forget that he's in the corner. You know, you have to walk around and around this room and you forget that, what, he's here, what? So it always makes it exciting to see more and more people.
So a lot of these were done at the Waldorf?
Yeah, he did most of them there. Yep, that's where he worked for the 30 years, and he was a safety engineer there. and he'd have them sign the work and date it and Bernard Shaw one. He did not like the first one that Jack did of him, so he sent it back, and Jack had to do another one. He said, "You need to accent my brains more because I'm very smart," and so Jack ended up doing this form. And then Gerald Ford, of course, Barbara Streisand, Neil Armstrong, another real popular guy.
Yo no tenía el bigote.
I know.
So ahora me.
You know what I'm gonna do now?
So vas a cortar.
It's back in the days when astronauts were heroes. So a lot
That's
of
right,
these guys
yeah,
are, you know,
should-
you look
should
at the whole
still be.
Apollo crew, Neil Armstrong, Gordon Cooper over here, Michael Collins. I mean, it's just incredible. George Burns. Everybody forgets about George Burns, you know,
Yeah.
back in the day. So, yeah.
Let's make it. If I can't see the back, she cuts the rest.
Yeah.
Raymond de Valera, the French president, educated in the United States. The great boxer Jack Dempsey, of course, Willie Mays up top here. Ernest Hemingway. It's just an incredible collection, you know. Jay Berlin and Aaron Copland, a lot of composers. We have Shostanovich on the other wall there. And then we call this the Jackie O booth over here. Because we have Jackie O up on the left and Robert Kennedy. For some reason they got separated from the others. I don't know how that happened. I always like this one because she's smoking a cigarette. Betty Davis smoking a cigarette.
Mm-hmm.
That's always a classic pose right there. You know, it's really true how it is. You know what I mean? So, yeah, Booker T. Washington up top there. People always forget about him and what he did. John Wayne up top, in case you missed him.
Another Picasso over here.
Yep, another Picasso, see? And that's an Caricature, which is done in reverse of a caricature. So it's a very similar style, but done in reverse on the charcoal paper.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always very interesting. Not too many of those around. I mean, not too many of them done. And then, of course, we continue on. Hank Aaron, Jesse Jackson. A lot of the younger generation will know of Jesse Jackson and maybe the sports figures, but it's a certain age group that does appreciate these more, you know, and these people were affecting the world. So that's one thing that I do notice. And of course, you have Babe Ruth over here. Tipper O'Neill.
And then you had stated you were going to be adding some to the
Yeah,
collection,
we're going to be
right?
adding about 8 more. We're going to add Grace Kelly, Prince Rainier, Peter, the King of Yugoslavia, also the King of Laos.
See, you got my cousin's picture there.
Huh?
My grandmother's the 5th cousin to Sir Winston Churchill.
Oh, yeah, we have 2 Churchills on the wall. Yeah, one there and one there. He signed one, but he refused to sign that one for some reason. Over here on the far right, right on the right.
The 5th one from the left.
All right.
What's his name? Is he right?